Hello and welcome back to day 5 at PEC Expo Connects at Morrison Container Handling Solutions booth. We appreciate you taking time to join us today. We've got a lot of really good content, and as you're looking through all of our videos and as we're describing things, please note that everything we do is custom built to order. So we don't have a model XYZ that you can choose from when you're looking to work with Morrison. We really customize everything to focus on your application and meet your needs. And then also, as you're looking at these videos, please note that these are always taken at Morrison's plant prior to shipment. So if you see something that doesn't look 100% right, there's not guarding on there or something like that, we are just trying to highlight the application a little bit further. But those would be in place when we get it installed in your facility. The first video here that we're going to talk about is lane dividing. It's a really great method using timing screws to divide product into 2 even lanes by utilizing continuous motion, by making sure that the system is completely dividing containers. And one of the things that we talk about whenever we're using screws is positive control. We will positively control these containers for this lane divide. So take a look.
Here's another example of why Morrison likes to use large diameter timing screws. In this specific example, we are taking product coming in from a single lane and we fully divide it into 2 lanes. You'll notice that not only do we put it into 2 lanes, but we have a rail that goes through the middle of the screws to create that full separation and guarantee that full divide of the products. Morrison utilizes the screws to be able to physically push the containers across the lane so that it can be in its own individual section. Morrison utilizes the outside diameter of the screw and the root diameter of the screw to grow and push it across the lane so that we can have a full divide between products and not rely on any outside variables for that lane division. This is great for any type of application where you need to go from a single lane to 2 equal lanes of product.
So in looking at those videos, honestly, like even today, I'm awed by what we can do with our timing screws. You can check out more of these videos on our website. We've got a lot of different applications. Again, not everything is, we don't have this model XYZ, but we do this type of application often. Some of the great features with this, again, the continuous motion aspect, avoiding that indexing operation. There's a lot of dividers out there that would, as the product is coming down, it would stop it. You'd have a swing gate that would change lanes, and then it would go into that appropriate lane. You lose a lot of productivity whenever the containers are stopped. And so by having that continuous motion, we have a lot more throughput and a lot more efficiency for you. The speed is also, with that, that kind of talks about the speed. We can really make the screws spin as fast as you want. Usually the bottleneck on a speed application for dividing is how fast the containers can come to us. So we run these at very high speeds. Once we get to a certain speed level, we do dynamically balance the screws. So basically like balancing the tires of your car, we do the same thing with the screws so that it increases the longevity or the lifespan of the drive system so that it doesn't have like a wobble to it, right? Because if you look at the cutouts of the screws, as this would spinning, if we don't have it dynamically balanced, it could kind of create a little bit of a wobble effect. But if we make it so it's more concentric with the weight, it'll spin true and really add to the lifespan of the machine. The next video that we are going to talk about is dealing with turning applications. So the video will highlight turning of a wide range of containers, but specifically we are using these ones. In this application, our end customer needed to have a different pack configuration for their end user, the retail user. So sometimes like Walmart will require the nozzles of the container to be in this fashion, or Costco will want them to be this way so that they're facing opposite directions. And so that's why, in this specific application, why we needed to turn the containers. So take a look.
A common misconception with timing screws is that they are only used for round containers. We often will use timing screws for anything that's in a rigid or semi-rigid form, including square containers like these gable top cartons that we're highlighting here. We're also not just feeding the containers, but we are fully controlling them and turning them for a variety of different applications. In this specific one, we are orienting the containers appropriately for the spout to be facing the correct direction for the downstream cartoning and case packing process. When turning containers, it's really important that the product is fully encapsulated and controlled, and so that's one of the reasons why we have such large diameter screws in relationship to the container themselves. So when you look at the top view, it really tells a great story about how the product is completely controlled and encapsulated, and we actually have the timing screws almost completely touch so that there is no room for the containers to have extra outside variables come into play during that turning process. We are fully relying on those containers to actually turn the product versus implementing some type of extra variable like conveyor speed or some element of friction that is uncontrollable. With utilizing screws in this way, we can guarantee that the product will be fully controlled and fully turned without any issues.
So again, really cool video. People don't really understand the things that we can do with timing screws, and so hopefully that sparked some interest or some ideas in your brain as to how we can use timing screws to help out with your specific application. To better visualize what we were actually doing in that video, I've got a set of screws here to highlight a few different things. So first, the infeed. Most timing screws that you see are going to look like this. They've got kind of a rounded pocket, and they'll gradually grow through the length of the screw. You'll notice that we use a different type of cutter on the infeed to create more of a square pocket, and so that's more important when you're dealing with this type of product because it needs to be able to fit appropriately in the pocket to the shape of the container itself. So that's what we call our shingle. So what happens as these screws or as these containers are coming in, they feed in and they create this natural separation between products. When these are back to back, there's nothing that's in between the two containers that will allow for a timing screw thread to fit in there. So when we bring it in at an angle like this, this creates this natural separation, and then we can actually control the container and feed it down the line and manipulate it as we need to for the set application. The other thing that you'll notice in Morrison timing screws compared to some of the other ones that are out in the field, and we did talk about this in our pharmaceutical demo too, is that Morrison tries to use the largest diameter screws as possible. And there is a reason to this, and this is why it makes our timing screws better than the other ones that are out there. It does cost, from a cost perspective, it's bigger material, so it might be a little bit more expensive, but the payback and the ROI there is huge because it will have a full positive control on the container itself. What we try to do is we fully encapsulate the container so that in this turning process, the container is completely inside the screw pockets and there's no ifs, ands, or buts as to whether or not the container is going to turn. If we used small diameter screws with something like this, you'd have to rely on outside variables like coefficient of friction on the chain. Does it have any sort of lubrication on there? A wide variety of outside things that could come into play that could affect the performance. But if we completely control it inside the pocket, it will make sure, without a doubt, no matter what, that it's going to turn appropriately. So you'll notice that in a lot of the timing screws that Morrison has, and you'll see in the next couple of videos that we do as well, that they're quite large in reference to the screws, or in reference to the containers. So that actually will transition us to the next video here, where we are taking a product that I'm sure you parents out there are familiar with in a Lunchable container. So take a look.
Back pressure is something that many plants will commonly deal with that creates issues on the infeed of machines. If you only have a single timing screw or a standard timing screw cut, an extreme amount of back pressure will push product through the first couple threads of the screws and potentially create damage or a jam. But with utilizing Morrison's infeed rails and shingle infeed cut on the timing screws, we can control that product and deal with up to 5 times more back pressure and also fully control the container so that it will not push past those first couple threads. This is something that's used with extreme levels of back pressure, as well as products that have more of a rigid corner or a square corner versus something that has a very radiused edge. By bringing the product in at an angle with the shingle infeed design, we can create a natural separation between the containers, which will allow a thread of a timing screw to actually fit between those products.
So again, if you notice in the infeed of that video, we bring the containers in with the shingle effect, so we have that room to actually control the containers with the timing screws. So definitely something to take a look at. And also you're going to look at Lunchables a little bit different when you see them in the store now, I bet. The last video that we're going to highlight today is actually dealing with a product like this. So the customer came to us and they wanted to be able to put this label or this sticker over the spout, and this spout was what opens up to dump the product out. So take a look at the innovative way that Morrison handled the application.
This video demonstrates multiple ways in which Morrison utilizes the timing screw design to better control the container for various applications. As you can see on the infeed of the screws, you can see the Morrison shingle infeed rails to take this square container and present it in a fashion that the timing screw can actually separate the product. As it travels down the screw, you'll also notice how Morrison utilizes large outside diameter screws to be able to completely control the container during the turning process. The outside diameter gets as close as possible to touching so that we always have full control of the container. The product travels downstream, you'll notice that we have a section of the timing screw where the product actually dwells for a split second. Timing screw continues to spin throughout the entire setup, but the timing screw pocket itself will have a vertical thread form for a split second to allow whatever application you need to put here. So some common applications where a dwell is used is to apply a neckband for a tamper-evident product. Another example of using a dwell would be to put a desiccant inside of a pill bottle. In this specific application, they're putting a sticker on the side of the container to go over the spout for the sugar.
So just to summarize, one of the big things that these videos highlighted are ways that Morrison can eliminate labor with the labor shortage that a lot of plants are dealing with right now, and automate to make your lines more efficient and more effective. So we highlighted dividing of products like this, turning of products like this, turning again of square containers like so, and then being able to put a label on a unique position of the container itself. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a fun week here at Pack Expo Connects. It's definitely different, and hope you enjoyed your experience. We'll be sitting on the chat here, so if you want to stick around and talk with us about your specific application, we're happy to do so, and we hope you do. Otherwise, we hope to connect with you soon. Please check out our website. We've got more videos, and you can reach out to your sales rep to schedule a meeting and plant today. Thanks so much.